The federal government wants to make some big changes to its emergency wage subsidy. Here are the changes they're proposing and why they say they're needed. The original wage subsidy failed to take off like the government hoped, so the finance minister is rolling out what amounts to a whole new program.
As we've gone along, we've always tried to improve those programs when we need to and change them as necessary, which is what the subject of today is about.
The problem with the original subsidy was what businesses called the cliff. To qualify, a business had to show the revenue dropped by 30%, but if revenue inched even slightly above that mark, they lost the entire subsidy, fell over that cliff, and couldn't make a go of it.
This is an important set of changes. We think it will help us with the safe restart of our economy.
So now the cliff is gone, replaced by a sliding scale. The bigger the revenue drop, the bigger the subsidy, with all subsidies declining over time as economic activity is expected to return to close to normal.
Will be in proportion to the amount of their revenue reduction that they will get a subsidy. So it broadens the number of organizations, helps them to safely restart.
On top of the base subsidy, there's an additional top-up for employers most hurt by this COVID-ridden economy, for those who have lost more than half their income over 3 months. The program still needs to be approved by Parliament, and if that happens, the wage subsidy will now last until November, with the promise to go into December if needed. Okay, so what do these proposed changes mean for businesses struggling through the pandemic? Jeff Clark is the owner of Murdoch Travel Agency in Barrie. He joins me now. Mr. Clark, thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
This pandemic has not been good for air travel. It's not been good for airlines. I can't imagine it's been good for a travel agency. How has this affected your business?
Yeah, it's not been great at all. It's been a challenge like a lot of different businesses. We've had, many struggles. I think one point to take out of this is our struggles don't seem to be going away anytime soon.
How many people work there at the travel agency with you? How many employees are there?
So full-time in the office, me included, I normally would have 4 people in the office.
And how many people have you been able to keep employed throughout all of this?
So I had to lay off 2 full-time employees, and I'm still working full-time, and I do have one of my staff members back part-time.
So has that been made possible or easier by the current wage subsidy? Has that allowed you to keep yourself and your other employee on the payroll?
Yes, definitely. When everything was starting to go crazy those few months ago, I had made the decision that it looks like I'm going to have to start laying off employees. And then when the government announced the wage subsidy was going to come out, I was able to keep one employee on to full-time to help me out through the rush of getting people canceled and rebooked and everything we had to do back in March and April. But now that business is completely slowed down and most of the cancellations are all done, I have one part-time staff helping me out now.
Okay, so when you look at the changes that were rolled out today, the sort of the 30% cliff, as they call it, has been done away with. The 75% subsidies reduced to 60%, but spread out and much easier to qualify for. When you look at these changes, is that something that's helpful for you? Can you rehire and grow beyond where you are right now?
Well, I will say I had a quick look at the what was sent out today, and I feel like I need some sort of degree to understand what it was. So I can't really, say too much yet until until I'm able to dig in a little further and maybe have my accountant take a look at things.
Okay, so in addition to the changes, and I will admit they are complex, there's a 14-page document that comes with the news release with a lot of graphs and charts in it and calculations that you will undoubtedly want your accountant to look at. But there's also a top-up, right, for people who qualify for the subsidy, but a top-up for those most affected. To fit into that category, you have to average a 50% revenue loss over a 3-month period. Does that apply to you?
Yeah, absolutely. We have spent the last few months undoing a lot of the work that we've done, over the past, year. So 50% would be an easy mark for me to hit.
So this was supposed to run out at the end of August. That was one of the earlier extensions the government had announced. It's now going to run until at least late November and most likely be extended into December. There's no guarantee the virus is going to be gone by then and that air travel and vacation travel is going to return to normal. So how concerned are you that this only really runs until December?
Yeah, I'm very concerned. One of the things that I really hope the government will start looking at is, looking at helping the travel industry in general, whether it be, airlines or tour operators or specifically travel agencies. A lot of us small, travel agencies, we don't have the funds to hold on for a year without any bookings coming in. I would say most agencies probably don't have that. So what I would like to see is something, to come out long term to help, industries that need it. Not, just ours, but I'm sure there's many others, movie theaters and that come to mind where maybe they might struggle to be at full capacity anytime soon.
To this point, the government has seemed very reluctant to do any sort of what I guess we could characterize as a bailout, right, for a specific sector. They focus on things like the wage subsidy or making credit available through the various business accounts. Would that be enough to keep you afloat, or do you truly need something larger to keep your travel company going?
I think the problem is, David, is we just don't know where we're going to be in 3 months or a year from now. The longer this goes, the worse it's going to get for everybody. Not just travel agencies, but looking from my point of view, our industry is going to be one of the industries that are last to come back. People are hesitant to get on any airplanes right now or cruise ships. So even once life goes back to normal, as normal can get, I still think travel is going to be just even longer than everything else. So we really do need sector specific help from the government if many small travel agencies are going to survive this.
Okay. Jeff Clark, we're going to leave it there. Thanks so much for your time and good luck going forward.
Thank you.
That is Jeff Clark of Murdoch Travel Agency in Barrie, Ontario. So that's one small business owner's take on changes to the wage subsidy. Now we're going to take a broader look from how the small business community is reacting and whether today's announcement addresses the concerns that they've been voicing about the subsidy. Dan Kelly is the president and CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. He's in Toronto. Mr. Kelly, welcome back to the show.
Happy to be with you.
The finance minister got rid of some of the problems I know you've raised about this program in the past. Overall, though, how do you react to the changes we saw today from the federal government?
Well, look, it's a relief to finally have some details. It's been nuts to us that we've gone and we're in the halfway through July and we're now getting details of what the subsidy is going to look like for July. So relieved that we actually have some information that business owners can rely upon. And many of the changes were good ones. The minister did listen to the advice of business associations like mine that were saying that the all or nothing approach with that 30% test was just not working, especially during the recovery phase of COVID-19. Also, the Prime Minister's announcement to extend the subsidy out towards the end of the year. Also good news for many businesses. But this is, Jeff was absolutely right. This is confusing stuff. And business owners are going to be calling CFIB's business helplines, I can imagine, in huge numbers over the weekend and starting next week, just trying to sort out whether they qualify or not.
Well, I know it's confusing, but kind of by necessity, right? I mean, there's really no way to kind of respond to all of this and deal with all the different corporate structures and business models that exist without it being confusing. So I found it confusing, but it's kind of by necessity, is it not?
Look, there were simpler approaches and choices. We provided a few examples of that, but I don't want to quibble about the complexity if the program works. Of course, we do still have the step of Parliament to consider as well. And of course, that may not be just a formality at this stage either. We need, though, to have programs that business owners can take to the bank. Look, business owners have been through the ringer. Half of small businesses right now are telling us that they expect it's going to be 6 months or more before their sales return to normal. This will provide for their largest expense line a little bit more certainty of some support for the coming months. Once we get Parliament to pass this legislation, it will be a relief to many that weren't qualified for the previous round of the subsidies, but may, as they bring their employees back, qualify now, and that's a good thing.
Okay, to go through some of the math, and I apologize for doing math on live television to the viewers across the country, but under the old system, Mr. Kelly, a 30% revenue drop, you could qualify for a 75% subsidy. If your revenue got any better, you lost the whole subsidy. Now it's a sliding scale where pretty much anybody with a revenue drop can qualify for a subsidy of some form up to a maximum of 60%. So it's broader, but less generous at the top, though there is a top-up for businesses that are really hammered. Does that provide an adequate level of support in your view?
Well, there's also what they call the safe harbor, where if you're worse off in July and August than you would be under the old system, you get topped up to the 75%. So this is the confusing complexity that we're going to be dealing with over the days ahead.
But nobody should lose with these changes. Is essentially they kind of grandfathering people in, right? So that nobody should lose in these changes. So going forward, I mean, is it enough?
You know what, it is a fairly aggressive timetable to phase out the subsidy. I think many, when they first heard the Prime Minister's comments about the subsidy being extended until the end of December, they didn't necessarily contemplate that it would become significantly less generous every month. But that is exactly what's going to happen. The 75% wage subsidy for most firms will drop to 60% for the summer, 50 and 40% in the fall, and then down to 20% in November, with December yet to be decided. So it is going to be significantly less rewarding for many businesses, but those that have 50% losses or more may find it more generous in the coming days, and there are lots of those. 1/3 of our membership at CFIB has said that their losses, like the travel agency, are greater than 50%. So for many of them, this may be a real lifeline. I will add, though, that while there's great progress that's been made on the wage subsidy as of today, we are still worried about the Canada Emergency Business Account, and also the rent support program is a complete mess. So Ottawa really does need to turn its attention to fixing those programs in the days ahead too.
Right, but just sticking with the wage subsidy, if we can for a second, that declining subsidy over time, the argument is that the country is moving into a safe restart. We saw the big agreement with the provinces and municipalities on that yesterday to put extra measures in place. Ontario is in stage 3. Things are gradually reopening. It's not business as usual, but it's business more like usual than it's been. Does that not make sense with the intersection of the declining subsidy with the rising economic activity due to the reopening?
It does. And I will say, no business likes to exist off of government subsidies. The sooner we can get off of subsidies and onto sales, the happier I'm going to be. And I'd say most business owners are going to be too. I worry a little bit, though, about what might happen if things start to get tight again as we go forward to the fall. Many businesses are in really dire straits right now. And as your other guest from the travel agency just cited, for certain sectors of the economy, it is, they could be a year or more before businesses return to normal. Government subsidies can't go on forever, and the government has staged it out over the next number of months. That is a good thing. But we need Ottawa to continue to listen, to make reforms based on the circumstances as they go forward.
Yeah, I think if there's a second wave, it's back to the drawing board and all bets are off, right? I think everybody has to sort of rethink where we're going. All right, we're going to check in with you again because I don't think this issue is going to go away. Dan Kelly, thank you so much. That's Dan Kelly, President and CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.